Hey, this is Rob, and welcome to episode 5 of the podcast for the recently diagnosed. Today, I wanted to talk about the non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease, and these are sometimes called the invisible symptoms because you just don't see them. And a lot of symptoms that you see in Parkinson's, that you can see in Parkinson's, it's easy for people that don't have Parkinson's disease to relate in as far as like you see somebody and they're having trouble eating or they're tremoring, and you can, visualize what that must be like, or at least have concepts of what that's like, but you don't see really what's going on inside of people, which is where a lot of Parkinson's folks have, some real issues. So one of the main things I think is just what's going on in your head, because a lot of what is in your head is what is in your life, and you got to try to master that, because what you think about yourself ends up being true in a lot of cases. So you want to think about, to me, more positive things and try to tamp down the negative feelings. But you can't always do that because there is definitely a neurological mental component to Parkinson's disease where, let's face it, it's pretty overwhelming when people first get the diagnosis, or even after years. It's not a light thing. It's something you really have to, you live with it for the rest of your life. I've heard the expression, it's not a death sentence, but it is a life sentence. You're always going to have Parkinson's until a cure is found, and who knows when that could be. It could be this year, it could be 10 years from now, but hopefully it comes soon. But you're living with that, and just the weight of knowing that you have this disease that has no cure. Yeah, you can treat some of the symptoms, but even the treatments don't always work, and people just carry that burden, and it can be really crushing. Somebody the other day on one of the Parkinson's forums that I was on posted, and it was their first post, and they were recently diagnosed, within like a couple months, and they were just trying to wrap their head around it. And the first thing they said in their post was something about euthanasia, and I was like, holy shit, wow, that's really super, super heavy to be immediately going to, I just don't want to live like this. This is not what I want. And, that's understandable. I can see that people don't want to be a burden. One of the first things I offered to my wife, which was a tough thing for me to say, was, you didn't sign up for this. And if you want to back away from this, I totally get it. Would I have been devastated if she said, yeah, that's great, I think that's what I'll do, I'm just gonna not deal with this? Luckily, of course, she's super supportive, and we're together and going through this together. But lots of symptoms that I sometimes see people, and I'm sure you have too, that people pull into a handicapped spot in the grocery store parking lot, for example, and they get out of their car and walk to the grocery store, and you could be thinking, hey, what's that about? How come they're parked in that space? And, hopefully they have a tag so they don't get a ticket for parking in that zone, but you don't know what's going on with them. And I don't know what's going on with them. They could have intermittent balance issues where they can, they appear perfectly, you can't tell anything's going on with them, but it could hit them suddenly that they, have trouble getting back and forth into the store, and they're just walking in so they can get one of those motorized carts to go around. But the symptoms aren't just balance, which is more a motor issue, and we're talking about non-motor issues in this particular episode. There are so many issues that are non-motor issues with this disease. There's and I know I'm not going to list all of them because I'm not going off any notes. This is just off the top of my head. That people have trouble with sleeping, and sleep issues could be that you just fall asleep during the day. Like there's people who it's almost like narcolepsy, but you can just, because you're having so much issue sleeping at night, you are tired throughout the day, which is so frustrating. I'm lucky I don't really have any issues sleeping, but some people, even when they're sleeping, they have motor response when they're asleep, that they're thrashing around and possibly hitting their spouse or significant other, whatever, or have to sleep in separate beds because there's just so much going on at night. And that's restless sleep. You're not getting good sleep, and then the next day you're not rested, you're exhausted, and that's tough to take. Or there could be constipation is another issue, which is, that's the butt of a lot of jokes, not necessarily Parkinson related, but constipation, it's a major thing. Or IBS, any sort of digestive things that are going on, very tough to handle. So just try to know that things that are going on inside people aren't readily apparent. I wish I would have written some stuff down, because now I'm starting to draw a blank, which could be another thing with Parkinson's. I have something that's called executive function. It's not disorder, but I can't think of the exact term, but loss of executive function, where I have trouble with putting together pieces of complex things. I don't have any mental issues going about my daily life. It's not like I can't read, which could be something that is impacted by this, where you look at things and it's just much more difficult to focus, or to zoom in on. Focus is a big thing that people have trouble with. I have trouble with, for sure. The loss of executive function means that the software that I work in, I'm having real challenges doing that. I'm up for certification, and I've already failed 3 tests trying to get recertified in 2 different softwares that I'm working in. So I'm not sure how that's going to impact, my career moving forward. Could I be, let go from my work because I'm not certified? That's definitely a possibility. But mental cognitive functions are something that can be impacted by this disease, and definitely are. And a pretty large percentage of people with Parkinson's end up having dementia, or some sort of dementia. It's not exactly like Alzheimer's disease, but and dementia covers a really wide spectrum. So it could be minor impacting dementia, or it could be something major where nobody knows where this disease is taking you. And one thing that I keep seeing is that the progression on this disease is generally like, if you are in a slow progression, which I am, it's very likely that the progression is going to remain like a constant. It's constantly going to get worse, but at a slow rate. Or I've read some people who were diagnosed recently, like one person their husband was diagnosed in November of last year, so only 6 months ago, and their progression has been very quick, and you don't know what's going to happen. It could go really quickly, or it could go really slowly, and your progression could transition and hit a plateau where you just sort of stay the same for a while. So non-motor issues is something that's really important. I think that it's very important that people have sympathy and be kind. And once again, I'll say this podcast is not meant as medical advice. I'm just going through my story as things are moving along. So don't take anything I say as medical advice. Try to hold things together. In my case, what I think is, try to have things that you're looking forward to, just to keep your attitude positive. So like, I'm going to a bass guitar camp for a week at the end of this month, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. COVID kind of delayed that. And then I thought, oh, I have Parkinson's. How much can I play? How much longer can I play? I don't know the answer to that question. I play in a band, and I want to continue to play in a band. And right now I'm having a little trouble learning new songs. I'm not sure whether it's just because I'm distracted, or is it something, again, one of these invisible symptoms. I don't know. But I signed up for this camp, and it's something I'm looking forward to, and I know I'm going to get some good, solid skills from it. It's with Victor Wooten, if you know who that is, or if you don't. He's all about music as a language and being a big part of your life, as opposed to just being you know, here's the notes and this is what you play sort of thing. It's more immersive than that with him. So I'm hoping that aspect is going to help me. But having positive things to look forward to is really super important. Thinking about the people around you, to try to think about how you impact people, and how you being around, and you know, thinking about that person who was thinking about euthanasia. The absence of somebody in somebody else's life who loves them is such a huge thing. It just shouldn't, in my head, be on the table, at least early in the disease for sure. Everybody has their own personal choice. Anyway, hopefully you got something useful out of this episode. If you did, you know, please consider subscribing to my channel or liking the video. Leave comments if you want, and I will definitely answer anything that anybody has to say. Thanks a lot and have a great day.